Hello, I'm Alan Hunter. I'm the co-director of the Glasgow Film Festival, and I want to thank you for watching Hermit of Treig and to remind you that it's one of the films that is eligible for the Audience Award, which is sponsored by Caledonian McBrain. So please remember to vote. And I'm very excited now to be joined by the director of the film, Lizzie MacKenzie. Welcome to the festival.
Hi, thank you so much for having us and watching the film.
Quite early in the film, we hear you in conversation with Ken saying it was 7 years before you allowed me to photograph you. And I'm just wondering, how did you meet? How did you get to know each other? How did that friendship develop in the first place?
So when I was in my early 20s, I worked in a restaurant, like the most remote restaurant in the UK, at the very end of a 17-mile dirt track. So our only
no passing trade then.
Not much. Our only locals or regular customers were deer stalkers, and the deer stalkers used to sit in the bar in the evening and tell stories about this old man that lived at the very, 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 very edge of the kind of mountain range that we were in. And I just got really curious about him and ended up going down to try and find him one day. And then, yeah, just got to know him really gradually. I was really interested in learning how to fish, and Ken, I heard, was an expert at fishing. So I went down with a fishing rod one January, and no one can catch a fish in January except Ken. And Ken and I went out and he caught a fish within 10 minutes and sort of showed me the ropes. And that's how our friendship started. And then I moved away from the Highlands, but kept in touch with him by writing letters. And then once a year-ish, would come and visit him, and just really gradually got to know each other. And then I started taking pictures and recording some of his stories on voice recorder. And it just sort of grew arms and legs from there, really.
And was there a part of you that was always thinking, oh, there's a really great documentary in this? Or was it really just the friendship that developed and almost the film was kind of secondary to those?
Well, I had no idea about how to make films. I was working in hospitality. I always thought that filmmaking looked cool, but I thought that you had to go to film school to do it. And I am too restless to study. And so straight away when I saw him, I thought someone needs to make a film about this guy. And I met filmmakers over the years, and every time I met any filmmaker, I would gush about Ken and say, you need to make a film about him. But no one ever took me up on it. And so after maybe 5 years of knowing him, I ended up deciding to learn to make films so that I could tell his story, basically.
And how easy, difficult is that when you set your mind to doing that?
Well, I was really, really lucky to meet Amy Hardy, who's
a
Scottish filmmaker, who was making a film about horses at the time. And I do a lot of horse training and riding. And so because of that knowledge, she took me on as an intern and threw me in the deep end, and I had to learn very quickly. So yeah, I think just throwing yourself in the deep end and going out with a camera and playing around is the best way to do it, really.
And in terms of when you committed to making a film, was there a plan? Did you know what you were going to do, or was there very much, I'm going to start filming things and we'll see where this goes and what this becomes?
A little bit of both. In the beginning, I sort of just intended to make a short portrait film about his life. And then I started filming, and I got into this Screen Skills Rising Director scheme, which was to make a 3-minute film. So I started filming for that. And then 10 days after I started filming, Ken had his stroke.
Okay.
And so suddenly there was this huge, big change happening in his life. And from there, the story just sort of gradually grew and grew, and the scale of it grew as we went along. So, yeah.
And how did he feel about this? Because I mean, he seems a very amiable, laid back kind of person. Was he comfortable with this? Did he set any conditions, or did it all kind of just grow almost organically, really?
It was pretty organic, really. We just played around with the camera. And in the beginning, he wasn't so comfortable with sharing everything about his life. But as time went on, I think he started to love the whole process. And I think because he's kept diaries his whole life and taken photos his whole life, he's sort of been recording his own story the whole way through. And I think a part of him has always wanted to share it. So it felt like we kind of joined forces in a nice way. And I helped him with his mission to share his story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and had you known those elements of his life before you got to the filming stage? So were you thinking, oh, I'd really like to get him to talk about that or to show those photos? Or again, did that just happen as you filmed more often together?
I knew the kind of main events of his life through talking to him before filming, and then more and more details and the emotion of it, I guess, came out the more we got to know each other and started filming.
And again, how does the process work? Do you say, oh, I'm going to come and see you every Tuesday and we might film? Or do you just drop in when you feel like? Do you sometimes film? Do you sometimes not film? I mean, how does the whole process kind of...
There's definitely no way of letting Ken know in advance unless I send a pigeon. So just randomly, I would just turn up randomly, really. As the filming got more intense, as there were more things happening, I would go really regularly. So I think if I didn't turn up for a few weeks, he would have been worried. So just sporadically. There was never any sort of set plan. It depended on the weather. I was always watching the weather constantly and then nipping up. But because of the long walk in, I would usually go for like 3, 4, 5 days at a time. So bring in all my food and stuff as well. And sometimes film, but there's other times, like, because of Ken's age, and also because, like, first and foremost, I genuinely just love hanging out with him. And again, one of the reasons I wanted to make the film was so I had an excuse to hang out with him lots. So filming until we started the edit and like realized that there were certain things that we'd need to get the story going. There are times I would just go and not film at all, or just hang out until something interesting was happening, or if Ken felt like he had something to say. But if there were days when he wasn't feeling so up for it, or whatever, we would just leave it and hang out.
And it almost seems to go against the grain of, you know, are you not supposedly meant to somehow maintain professional objectivity when you're making a film, or so they tell you, which presumably was just out of the window in this case, because he's your friend and over time he becomes more vulnerable in some ways. Did that give you any kind of dilemmas about being the director of, this is my friend, but I need to make my film and I'm too close to my subject? Or, I mean, do all those things go through your head at all?
Definitely went through my head a lot, especially like in conversations with editors, funders, like all the conversations that went on as we were making it. And I felt like sometimes we had to speak about Ken like he was, I don't know, we were trying to turn it into
the subject of a film rather than
and I found that hard. But I think I just tried to have complete transparency with Ken the whole way through. And because he's a storyteller, he totally got it. And when he was younger, he watched a lot of films as well. And so he just really actually was intrigued and interested by the whole process. And so I think that's what made it okay.
Because I quite like the times when he's, you know, when he's trying on the hats and he's like, you know, start, stop, cut, almost slightly becoming the kind of co-director of his own story in some ways. So did he embrace that more as things went on?
Yeah, especially I think in the winters when because in the summer he's doing so much, so he's out, chopping his logs and doing all the tasks in the daylight. But in the winter, he spends a lot of time sitting and writing and thinking. And so every time I went, he would have this big list of all the things he thought would be good to film.
Okay.
Like more and more towards the end. And even when I finished filming, he'd sometimes be like, okay, Lizzie, it's snowing. I really want to toboggan down this mountainside. Like things, he had it really in his head. He was going to sledge down this mountain. Yeah, he loved it. Just so many ideas all the time. And I think he would have been a film director in another life if he had a chance.
So did you wind up with just a massive amount of material that you're distilling into the TV cut and the feature film cut?
Yeah, loads. I actually haven't even worked out the amount of hours. I don't want to.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot. But.
And how difficult then was that to kind of give it the focus that you wanted, and not wind up making a 3-hour film? Or
that was really, really hard, and that's where the amazing editors came in, because yeah, I loved it all. I watched 10 all day. But yeah, that's where the editors really, really, really helped to to be a bit separate from it and see it more objectively.
And did he see cuts of sequences, or did he see the final film, or did he have any say in what wound up in the film that we've just seen?
Yeah, the interesting one was actually the stroke scene, which isn't in the TV cut, but in the theatrical. There's the kind of like I don't know what it is, like sort of dream sequence of him like going through the internal experience of the stroke sort of thing. And I did a lot of speaking to him about what that felt like and how to try and best capture it in the edit. So that was quite interesting. And I mean, he often comments on the fish, like, at the very, very end. We actually had like a little preview screening, and there's a little bit at the end where after the credits, where Ken catches a fish and then calls me over with the rod. And one of my friends was sitting behind him in the previous screen, and he was like, "Oh, I hope they show that fish. That was the best fish I've got in a while." That sort of thing. But I mean, he just seemed to love it all, actually. He was really generous with his feedback all the time.
And I guess we should ask, how is he faring now? Do you keep in touch very regularly?
So yeah, I was going so often during the filming, and now the last time I saw him was just before Christmas. Okay. And yeah, it seems like ages, so I really miss him. So I'm hoping to go in the next week or two and try to convince him to come. And he was doing really, really well then. The February is always the month that's worrying. Like, he's had 2 helicopters out of there actually in February. On the 2nd of February each year, coincidentally, very strange. But I've heard from the stalkers that he's doing well, and yeah, I hope to go in the next week or two.
That's good, because I think anyone who watches it really does want him to make it to 102 or achieve that kind of thing.
Totally.
How potent is his brew? Because there's a lot of it that he seems to have made.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. I had to make a rule after a few filming trips that I was going to stop drinking while I was there to film, because yeah, it's really, really potent and you don't feel good the next day. Some of them are good, like there are the odd one. It's kind of hit or miss. I can't decide if either like I've got more used to it or he's got better at making it, because I can drink it these days. But there's some of them that I don't know, I couldn't call wine.
I was thinking we should have bought some of it and given it out at the physical screenings of the film. I mean, that would have been.
I don't know how legal it would be, but it would be really cool, wouldn't it?
No, yeah, there is that element, I suppose.
Yeah. Bring some.
Now that the film is going to be out there, it's at Glasgow and we'll have screenings. What can you kind of quantify what imprint that's left on you as I suppose both a person and a filmmaker, in terms of how that's helped you work out what kind of documentaries you want to make? And because it's been a long time. I mean, are we talking like 10 years in total, maybe, since you first
I guess so,
met
since
him?
I first met him, yeah. Yeah, God.
Big part of your life.
A huge part of my life. And I guess I'll forever be grateful to Ken for the friendship and for allowing me to be the one to tell his story, because I don't doubt that if I hadn't come along and built this unique relationship with him, then someone else would have probably tried to come along and make a film, and whether it would have happened or not, I don't know. But yeah, I'm just really grateful to be that person. And I really genuinely learned to make films so I could tell Ken's story, but now I'm addicted to it. And I am already developing my next film with a similar, it's like another elderly rebel. So I don't know what my fascination with old rebels is, but it's still there. So I don't know. I think that I'll definitely always be interested in I don't know, with Ken, I feel like I would want to be hanging out with him anyway, and bringing a camera along just felt natural. And so I think I just want to keep like living my life as I would be anyway. And then if I encounter a good story or an interesting person with a cool story to tell, then I'll be there with my camera, sort of thing.
Yeah, it seems a good way to work.
Yeah. I don't see myself making films for the sake of making films, but just doing it if I feel like I really have to, you know.
Yeah, it's the best motivation. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, thank you very much. We wish you great things with this, and hopefully maybe not 10 years before the next film, but if it has as much affection and respect and integrity as this one, then we very much look forward to that as well.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.